We already have a lot of people joining. Thank you guys so much for joining already. We'll give it a couple more minutes to let everybody join and then we'll start. We'll wait another minute and then we'll get started. We still have some people joining in. Okay, Tom and Tim, you guys ready?
Absolutely.
Yes. Perfect, let's get started. So in today's webinar, our last webinar of the year, actually, we'll be talking about managing professional product in salons. We're joined, as you can see, by Tom in the UK and Tim in North America. So you guys will get a very well-rounded view of what managing stock looks like across the pond. I'll pass it off to you guys now.
Okay, great. So today what we're going to cover is seasonality and how you manage your inventory or stock through different times in the year. When clients' color preferences typically will change in the year, how do you actually manage inventory around that? The differences and advantages of having an automated system over your kind of manual processes for tracking stock usage, professional stock usage. How Vish helps with this, as well as creating new inventory orders, okay? It's also about knowing exactly how much product's leaving the salon without it being used or paid for. So commonly known as slippage, shrinkage, or theft of that professional product.
And Tom, just before we get into that, I want to ask everybody, do you want to just give a little bit of a background? Because not everybody on the call knows who you are and knows who I am. So if you want to just maybe give yourself an introduction and I'll do the same.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Tom Bentley-Taylor. I'm work for Vish in the UK and involved with partnerships, sales, etc. I'm running the business over here. So my background is in technology in salons, which I've done for at least 25 years.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim. So I'm in North America. I am responsible, so I meet with customers all the time regularly to understand how Vish can improve their salons and understand the data. And we'll be looking at that, focusing that in quite a bit as well today. So we want to know, for starting off, is how many of you or are you successfully managing your inventory? So are you running out of stock? Do you always have what you need? Are you stocking too much? What are your feelings about your success with your hair color inventory? So everybody, there's a poll that's on the screen, so we'll view the answers right after as well.
So I actually spoke to a salon, I won't say who, in the last couple of weeks, Tim, and they have a 6-chair salon, and their inventory spend each month was about £3,000, which is more than twice what it should be.
Right.
So, I mean, they're really an extreme. I've never heard of so much being used by so few.
Yeah, well, we get it all the time in talking to salons who are when they start using Vish, even in the first month or 2 months of using Vish, they are under budget and ordering a lot less color than they normally would. How are we doing with the results? Are they coming through? Okay, so we've got 55% that say they are, yes, successfully manage their inventory. So at the end of this, we want to go through Q&A and maybe ask that question on what do you define success? We've got 25% that are not, or feel that they're not successfully managing their inventory, and another 20% that say they don't know if they are successfully managing their inventory. So that's quite the range. So what we're going to talk about first are the seasonal trends that we can look into or pick up on that are going to help us dictate how much inventory we have on hand. So we know that hair color inventory looks different throughout the year. What you're stocking in the high season versus the low season, and then just the seasonal trends from, say, the warm months to the cooler months. As we know, Christmas, the holiday season, is coming up. And are we able to, and are we adjusting our hair color inventory to get ready for that? All too often, what we do is we stock inventory based off of our last 2 weeks of business or our last week of business. And as we know, moving into the holiday season, we've got to carry more color, and we've got to carry more color of specific quantities, of specific colors. So how are you looking at that? Are you able to know whether you're understocking or overstocking product? And I know just from experience in salons that a lot of these processes are done manually. So are you able to quickly go back? Have you created a spreadsheet that looks at how much you're consuming of specific categories so that you're ready for those seasonal trends? And then how often throughout the year are you adjusting your mins and maxes? So if you're using your POS to do your ordering, how often are you adjusting that? In my experience, most salons are keeping those mins and maxes. Like, let's say it's level 1, level 2 black. Well, when they originally set up the POS, they set it to have 6 or 12 of that quantity. But you're replenishing something that you're not using that often. So how often are you going back to adjust those levels? You should be doing it regularly. You should be doing it seasonally. You should be looking at what's coming in and keeping your hair color inventory at a minimum. There's only so much you need to stock of certain products, and that will change throughout the year. So technology like Vish is able to give you the insight so you can look at your inventory more accurately throughout the year, quickly and effectively.
Okay, so we'll have a look at sort of manual versus automated processes. And most salons, I would say, at the moment are using manual systems. So that's worked okay to date because there hasn't really been a better way of managing it sort of in an automated fashion. But if you're using a manual system, I would say the biggest thing is how time consuming it is. A lot of salons are going and they're doing a full count across their inventory to actually then create any manual orders or anything like that. So it's also quite open to error and therefore can be inaccurate. Okay, so for instance, if you're storing box tops, bottles, those don't get put in the right place, or they go in the bin instead of being in the place where you put them to then go and update your point of sale. So what we find is, although people then do the manual system, maybe in conjunction with the point of sale, often if there is a discrepancy between the two, right, is that theft? Is it not theft? Is it someone not having stored that bottle top or the box top? So I think, the manual system is the best that we could to date, right? But now you've got systems like Vish, you can be much more data driven and automated. Okay, so Vish actually deals with everything that you're dispensing. So therefore you can produce your report and see exactly what you've used only over any given period of time. So it's very fast and it's very accurate. Okay, you can view a date range to understand the usage, and you can understand sort of trending inventory as well during that period. Okay, and adjust your minimums and maximums on your point of sale very quickly on the basis of that. So rather than having to go and do a full stock take, which may take hours, I can hit a button, I can see what I've used, and I can actually see what I need to replenish adjust my minimums and maximums if I pass that across to my point of sale, or actually I send that through to my rep. So I think the big thing here is how many hours in salon is taken up with counting inventory and creating orders. And Vish really sort of bridges that gap so that you can have a much more automated process that has that accuracy.
Excellent. So we want to know, how often are you doing your hair color inventory? Are you doing it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Just to get a sense of everybody on the call and how much time they're spending on their hair color inventory. I mean, in my salon, we would order hair color weekly because our distribution center was in it was quite far away. So it would take us 5 to 7 days to get our hair color inventory. And it was a manual process. And we never would have exactly what we needed for color. Because one of the things is you can be ordering, but does your distributor stock all the color that you need? So how do you factor that into your inventory? Like, at certain times of the year, like we used to, at times our distributor would run out of the most popular colors. All right, so we have the polls back. We've got 36% of the poll saying that you're ordering every week. 30, sorry, my vision is not, so it's at
28%, yep.
Every 2 weeks, and 20% every month. And then there's 16%, Tom, can you see that?
Yep, 16% less frequently than every month.
Okay.
So that's quite a spread.
Yeah, but the majority of people are doing it every week.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised. And I think, I guess kind of, in terms of ordering, you've got a huge amount of money that's tied up in your inventory and stock that's sat on the shelves. So in any retail environment, it's really about keeping the minimum amount of stock, so you've got enough just what you need, and turning that stock over quickly, and therefore, you want to be ordering more frequently.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I imagine the problem with, so sorry, go ahead, Tom.
So I was just going to say, if you actually know how much of your money is tied up in stock at any one time, I think, you'll find that's a very high cost in most salons. And that's just sat there in the dispensary or color bar. And I think if you can turn that stock over more frequently, hold less, order more frequently, much more of a just-in-time system, then although every salon is different and you've got to decide what's right for you and your business, and you might be given a great offer by your product company to do a huge order twice a year, that's not always the best decision to make. So it's really weighing up, how much of your money is going to be tied up in stock for how long. And a lot of the time you're better off not having it tied up in the stock. Okay. So when you're using a sort of manual system and you're counting box tops, tubes, bottles, you're often looking at sort of, doing recounts continually, so that you can actually then manage the size of your orders. Actually, I'm counting everything there. Okay, right now I want to try and keep my order down, because demand isn't so high, whatever it may be. I think, there's a huge amount of time in that taken up. But I think also then you've got the manual count to do, updating your point of sale, get the right quantities. Is your order going to be too big? All those sorts of things. So I think, that going back again to, that frequency, if you could order twice a week, actually, that may be much better for your business, and turn that over. So with the Vish system, you can then just automate that. So you could literally order every 2-3 days, a week, whatever it is, because it's just hit one button, adjust if you need to the quantities, and then push that onto your rep or put it into your point of sale to create the order. So it's very quick and accurate. And I think the automated system really enables you to do that, where before, just because of the hours that were taken up doing manually counting, most people would then normally be ordering a week, 2 weeks, a month between orders.
So we'll talk about the Vish tools that help you automate your inventory replenishment. And one of the things that sort of sticks out in my mind the most over the last few years, hearing salon owners talk about their inventory. And Van Council, who is in the Atlanta region, the United States, he owns, I think he does 20 million in hair color sales. He said that he wouldn't be able to understand his hair color demand and what they were using in the inventory until 3 months later. It would take his team 3 months to fully report on how the hair color business was doing. And that really starts from where the colorists begin to work. So what is the technology that's on your color bar right now? If it's a manual scale, then most often all of your processes are manual. The problem with using the scales that have an LED or a display on the front of it is that information is owned by the colorist, and once they walk away, it's lost. So we want to look at how technology can support the entire team. That when they're mixing color with a system like Vish, what happens is they're mixing color, and as they're using those color tubes, well, we're counting exactly what's being used in real time so that we can pull the reports that we were talking about. So that when you're not just mixing color, you're not only recording the formulas, but you're also counting your inventory for accuracy. You have the ability, like Tom said, at the push of a button to understand and to see what the inventory consumption looks like. In addition, you'll also get insight into, okay, so we know how much we're wasting, we know how much product we're purchasing, but who's consuming more product? Which one of my teammates is using twice the amount of bleach that they should be? So having the reporting at your fingertips in real time gives you that insight as well. So not only is it an opportunity to adjust your inventory, it's an opportunity to adjust the behaviors in your salon and find areas where more education is needed because people are simply just misusing your inventory. So as you said, with the ability with Vish, you can go into your inventory report. You can quickly see which products are the most popular products. You can even look at your reports on a weekly basis to do your reordering, but start comparing month over month to see what products are trending down and what products are trending up, so you can adjust those mins and maxes. And as we enter the busy season now, let's look back at December 2019 and see how much product we consumed so that we can properly order for this year. As we're not going to maybe need as much color because we're at 50% capacity, but it's really just having that access to the data to understand what you're using. And I know in my locations, the salons that I own, we would, to predict what we needed for color would be really hard in the December season because, there's so many variables that would happen throughout that year. How many more staff members? We almost want to look at it a month to month and getting ready for it. And that's, like Tom said, pulling in your rep to see how they can help and support you in that ordering process.
Okay, so on to shrinkage or slippage. So here's a poll. Do you think you have shrinkage in your salon? You might have no idea. You might have some idea that you maybe have some, or you've got a good handle on it. So we could understand kind of where people feel that they are at in terms of slippage or shrinkage. Most people that I speak to, Tim, would say they do have shrinkage or slippage, but it's kind of, as long as it doesn't get out of hand, that's okay. But I think that's really because they've got no accurate way of really telling what it is.
I have a funny story. A salon owner recently told me they caught their team stealing color because of their Instagram posts, that they had an Instagram post of them doing hair at home with the salon's inventory in the background.
Wow.
So it happens. It goes on for sure.
And people tend to have private clients and things, don't they? So it's kind of, right, where are they getting that product from?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially right now as COVID is going on. So, if they're doing clients at home, they may not be able to run to a local distributor or Sally Beauty here to grab it. So hopefully they're not taking it from your inventory. And how much insight do you have into that?
Okay. So how do the results look? Okay, so about a third of people are saying I have no idea. 60% saying I have some idea, and 8% are saying I have a good handle on it. So I think that kind of really shows the extent of the problem. And actually it's just very hard. If you've got a manual system, it's very hard to track exactly what's going on in your salon.
Yeah.
So how do you really understand shrinkage? I think we'll just cover off a couple of bits here, because I think in order to understand it at the moment, well, I mean, across the board, you've got to understand what you're ordering, what you have in stock at any one time, and then what you're actually using in salon. And the problem with the manual system is that, yeah, if I'm just pulling off the top of a box and placing that, you know, on the side, and then those are going to be counted later, well, I can do that and still put the tube in my bag, right? So who's to say that that's actually being used? And I think unless you're weighing it and tracking it, and that's actually being kept in terms of a report, you're just not going to know exactly what the problem is with slippage or shrinkage. So at the moment, you've got, as I said, sort of, you know, you've got to count it probably in your point of sale, saying, right, how much you should have in stock at any one time. And when you do a manual stock take, it's kind of, right, well, actually, I've got 3 on the shelves. My POS says I should have 6. Okay, right, I've got 3 that have gone missing. That may or may not be the case, but without actually weighing and knowing the exact amount of grams of every color, every product that you've got, and that's a huge amount of money that you've invested in those products, you're not really going to know the extent of that slippage and what it's costing you. Okay, so typically people would say, right, the difference between their point of sale and their manual count is slippage, but actually that's not the case. Okay, so what you ordered versus what you've actually used will give you a much better, really true picture of what that slippage and cost is to the business. And that's really what Vish can help with.
Yeah, I remember when we would do the ordering, Tom, I mean, we would be good at, you know, counting what was used, but all too often I would find boxes of color that should have ended up in the bin for counting in the trash, or someone else in the salon, or the cleaner came in one day and they cleaned up the wrong container and threw out our counting box. So we had no idea what was stolen versus what was consumed.
Yeah. And I think, look, it's kind of also when you're looking at this, and right, I suppose, you know, going back to what you're saying in terms of stock holding and changing your minimums and maximums and things like that, you know, often, particularly if you've got good reps and things like that, they won't mind you swapping out some of the product for others. Yeah. And so if you've got stuff that isn't moving, or, do you know what I mean, you find actually you're not using a lot of it, then you can use that. And I think, you know, once you've got a handle on the slippage, at least you can then talk to your team, and it's not necessarily, right, point the finger time, but it's going to be talking to the team saying, look, we know that there's a lot of stock going adrift, and we'll continue to monitor it. I think it puts you in a strong position when you're talking to your team.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the same thing with waste. You know, just using a system that monitors the waste makes your team waste less products just by nature. Same thing with inventory counting. If they know that you've got a tight inventory system, it's less likely that your team are going to feel confident they're going to take something and it not go noticed. So just being aware of it and having these meetings like Tom suggested has a big impact on the team and how much inventory you're losing.
And I think it's easier then to handle the sort of the over ordering, which can happen. You know, if you've got somebody on the team who's doing the ordering. I spoke to somebody else the other week, and they're creating huge orders. Okay, really, really big orders compared to what they're using. And so actually they've managed to improve that considerably, and they're not now over ordering. The size of the orders are much smaller, which is obviously much better for the business.
Yeah, and to your point, Tom, what you're saying about that conversation that you have with your rep, I negotiated with my salons that we had twice a year we were able to trade back product so that we could adjust those mins and maxes. Because if I found that, you know, there was an intro kit that came in and there was a ton of toners that we thought we were going to use, well, now they're just sitting on the shelf. How can I flip that around? Because maybe another salon in their network is using it a lot more than we are. How can we give it back to the rep and it still be beneficial to them, but service our inventory needs much better? So again, just negotiating that with your rep, getting them involved in your inventory process will just, you know, you just establishes a good relationship for returns.
For sure, for sure.
All right, so now we'll turn it over to sort of a Q&A, and we'll spend, you know, as much time as we can answering the questions. We've seen that have already a bunch of questions have come through. We'll do our best to address them. But if you want, Tom and myself are always available to have one-on-one meetings with anybody so we can discuss your questions if we don't get to them today or if you have other ones. So Tom, if you want to maybe read out the first few.
What have we got here?
Okay, so Q&A. All right, so do we have any questions yet? All right, so let's just, there's an opportunity to ask questions here in Zoom. I know we have a few that Sabrina have been answering already.
So I've got one from Bryn Travis asking, so how about shipping costs in frequent ordering? Still better to pay that than to have the overhead? Okay, so happy to answer this, Tim. I think, it's really down to your business, and you have to look at those shipping costs. But if you think, right, what's the size of your orders? How much are you actually ordering? If you're ordering, $500, $1,000 at a time, how quickly are you going to turn that stock over? Because actually, if that's going to hang around on your shelves for a month, 6 weeks, that's a huge cost. So I would say, if you are, when you look at your metrics, look at, right, how much you're spending, how long is that product staying on your shelves? Because I think that will then dictate, right, actually, okay, is it better just paying more shipping costs and having them more frequent than having all that money tied up on your shelves? And I would say, typically, people are better off ordering more frequently, taking a bit of a hit on the shipping costs. I acknowledge that, but then you're not having all of your money tied up in stock that's sat on the shelves for potentially 4 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, and that again depends on the size of your location as well. Because if you're ordering more than $500 or $1,000, a lot of the distributors will just waive any of the shipping costs with you as well. How does Vish actually work? Better to actually schedule a demo? Yeah, so that was from Phil. Absolutely, Phil. We can go through, if you're not familiar with Vish, it's better that we do a one-on-one demo with you to show you how all 3 parts of our technology work. So there's a color bar app that your hairdressers use. There's a dashboard which managers and owners interact with. And then there's a front desk part that your front desk team know how to charge for additional color when it is used. So we'd be happy to schedule a demo with you.
Okay, so Tim, this looks like it's for you. What's the best way to view usage in Vish and converting that into your POS system, from Anne-Marie?
Yeah, so Anne-Marie, what we do is, and if you want to schedule a meeting, if you're currently using Vish, we'll go through this in depth, but in the dashboard, there's a product report section. So what you would do is you'd select the date range when you want to see what your consumption is. You would download a spreadsheet, and then you would take the amounts that you've used. So think about that manual counting of boxes and tubes and bottles. That's eliminated. We're now able to go directly into a report from Vish in a spreadsheet. We know every drop of color that gets mixed. We know the size of your containers. So when you've gone over half a container, we count it as 1, and we let you know what you've been used for that time period. You would then take that and put it into your POS system and adjust the variance so it would generate a purchase order. And hopefully that answers your question, but I'm happy to meet with you separately to go over that.
Okay, Jessica, what is an acceptable percentage of waste and number to use as a benchmark? So I'll start with this one. I think, from my perspective, it's not a waste percentage tells you some of the story, really. What I tend to look at when I'm looking through Vish data and consulting salons is I look at the amount being dispensed per service. Now, providing you've got enough data coming through, you can actually see then how much is being dispensed. That waste will be an amount of that, but I think the percentage waste needs to be taken in the same context as how much is being dispensed. So if I'm dispensing 150 grams per service, and I've got a 10% waste, that's actually quite a lot of color. Whereas if I'm dispensing 60 grams of color and I've got 10% waste, it's a much smaller amount. So I tend to look at what's being dispensed. And when we're looking at benchmarks around what's being dispensed, I don't know about you, Tim, but I typically see efficient colorists using somewhere between 60 and 80 grams per service. And that includes the waste as well, right? So that's actually, a low amount being used and a low a low waste percentage.
And I mean, that's a good point, Tom. Like if you look at salons that are using a lot of color, they're using a lot of bleach, their waste percentage might be a little bit higher, but their cost of the waste is low. So we want to look at a lot of things. And one of the things we look at is once your waste plateaus, we also look at, okay, so we've stabilized where your waste is. We like to see, a lot of salons will get them under 10%, and that's sort of a good benchmark to focus on. But then we'll also look at the team, where else they're wasting color. Are they wasting it just down the drain, or are they wasting it on the client's head? And that opportunity to sort of reapproach how they're applying color as well.
And I think also you can look at your business and see how efficient you are with your color by what proportion of revenue is cost of color. And we typically see that at a sort of 15 to 20% initially when we put Vish in, but that will drop down to around 5% when the system's sort of all up and running and everybody's using it effectively.
You'll have to read this one, Tom.
Yep. So Robert has asked, does the stylist have to enter the data as they weigh out the color, or do you have a smart scale? Also, how much time does this process add to the service? So it's about, right, are we using a smart scale, and how long does it take?
So we do use a smart scale. We've got a brilliant scale. It's a Bluetooth enabled scale, low energy. It connects to an iPad. So as the color is mixing, I've picked, and Tom's got it there, I've picked the 4 ingredients that I'm going to mix. As I'm mixing, I pour the product into each ingredient circle on my iPad so that we're able to know exactly what you've used for inventory purposes and also for record keeping for that client. And then if I've gone over and I've used too much product, well, then we also give that insight to the front desk for charging. And then the amount of time. So Vish actually, in the first 4 to 6 weeks, it will add a little bit of time to each client that they're mixing. But once you get past that 6 weeks and that first group of customers start to return, you're actually saving more time than what you did before you had Vish. So what we eliminate is that the hairdresser doesn't have to go to the front desk, find the client's name, find the client's formula, and hopefully that formula is there. Go back over to the color bar, mix the color, and then record any changes that have happened, and then go back to the POS and re-enter that. That whole process is automated. All they need to do is mix color, and we do everything else in the background for them. So it saves them a ton of time.
Which I think, when you take into account, if you are keeping good notes, the amount of time that it takes to do good notes, right, that far outweighs any additional. I mean, when Tim says, okay, right, it takes a little bit longer to start with, we're talking, it takes you a minute, 90 seconds. All you're doing is choosing your ingredients and weighing against them. So, maximum a couple of minutes when you're right at the beginning of your journey with Vish. After you've mixed probably 5 or 6 bowls, you're already much quicker. So it's minimal amounts of time, particularly when you take into account, right, the notes would take you quite a bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay. So Robert's asked about charging and things like that. I think might be worth us having a quick meeting, Robert, and discussing what your requirements are, because it does depend upon your size of your business, how many scales you need and that sort of thing. So maybe we can catch up with you afterwards on that. Can you make the scale? Yeah, Robert, let's catch up on that. I'm not sure about your second question there, but let's catch up and we can run through all of that. Karen has asked, does Vish talk with our POS system?
We integrate with how many, Tom? How many are we now? 6 POS partners right now?
Yeah, a lot of systems. The best thing again is for us to understand which POS you are using. We have got quite a few integrations in the pipeline as well. But as of right now, we've got MindBody, Booker, Shortcuts, Salon IQ, Forest, and a number of others. So it would be good, Karen, to understand what system you've got, and we can sort of answer that specifically for you. Okay, I think that's all the questions there, Tim.
That was great. Oh,
here we go. Anne-Marie, how does your integration with Forest work? I have Vish and Forest, but they don't talk to each other. Okay, well, Anne-Marie, we can catch up on that and discuss that and get you all hooked up. But effectively, what will happen is the point of sale will populate Vish in the schedule. So when somebody logs into Vish, they will see the clients who are coming in today, and they get to mix against those. And then that data, the information on the color notes, if you like, that within Vish will then push back through to your POS. Okay. Jessica's asking for Mevo integration. So that is something that's actually being worked on at the moment. Brandy asked about Milano software.
So
again, we can
Milano, Tom. They're moving into their new platform, which will be named something separate from Milano. So we're definitely in conversation with them. Brandy, if you want to reach out, I know we've chatted a few times. I'd be happy to answer that question for you and kind of give you a better timeline.
Yep. And estimated integration date with Mevo. I don't know off the top of my head what the date would be on that, but we'll keep you informed as that progresses. I would have thought that it's going to be at some point early next year.
And just to be clear, I mean, whether or not we integrate with your salon software provider right now, I mean, we're looking to do it in the future, but there's still tons of value with Vish, even without that integration, is that we're able to pull these inventory reports manually, pull the inventory reports from Vish and then enter them into your POS. So while it makes life a little bit easier to do that POS integration, we've got, in the beginning of Vish, we never integrated with any salon software. So there still is a ton of value in having these reports and using both the POS that you're currently using and Vish.
Yeah, I mean, the integration is from a user perspective, makes virtually no difference in terms of how they're doing it. You can go in, it takes you 30 seconds to schedule in your clients for the day onto Vish, and then you use that. So that's the only difference between integrated and non-integrated from a user perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you, everybody who joined today. We're out of questions. I guess we'll see you in the new year. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
Please feel free to reach out to us if you want some one-on-one conversations.
Absolutely.